AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
My name's James Baker and I'm hosting the latest chapter of the AI in Action podcast. I'm delighted to be speaking to Kenza Ait Si Abbou today. Kenza is a senior manager for robotics and artificial intelligence at one of Germany's most famous organizations, Deutsche Telekom. So a huge welcome to the show, Kenza.
Thanks, James.
So we're going to talk a little bit today about influencing and managing internally within such a huge organization like Deutsche Telekom, as well as some of the personal projects and some of the work that you've been doing alongside the role at Deutsche Telekom. So first of all, it'd be great to know, what do you do on a day-to-day basis at such a big organization?
So I work for the internal corporate IT, and we build the IT solutions for the whole group. So not only in Germany, but worldwide. And since 2 years now, we founded a new hub, let's say. So it's like a project, but we are over 100 people team, and we exclusively build robotics and AI-based solutions. So my daily job is actually connecting people, like always. So I'm basically talking with our colleagues and trying to identify their pain points and trying to find the best solution to solve their needs or to solve their problems.
Okay, and how does that work? So you must have so many different touching points within the organization, different people you have to influence, different people you have to convince. How does that pan out in real life?
Yeah, well, this it's a big challenge actually. It's true because we have already built structures and we have like systems and applications that we need to work every day, and people know who to reach to for these kind of applications. But what we offer here is like an extra solution. So if someone needs to optimize a process, he can reach out to us, but of course he needs to know that we exist, and this is the main problem in such a corporate. Everything is possible, but people just don't know it is possible. So here it's really important to have a good network, so that you talk to people know you exist, and then they talk to you about to other people. And obviously we have to do a lot of communication work and marketing. We organize events and we try to go to many locations. So we set up last year the AI Roadshow. So it's only a Magenta Roadshow. We are visiting different locations worldwide from the Deutsche Telekom group, where we just invite many speakers, all telecom employees, to talk about their projects. We explain what is AI, and this way we try to get the people first aware about the topic and to talk about their concerns, but also to know that we exist and to know who to reach to if they need help.
Okay, and so AI is something that is seen as in some quarters such a positive, so groundbreaking. In other areas, there's a lot of fear around it. Even just as a phrase, artificial intelligence. Do you come across fear, or what elements of fear have you come across in the organization, and what do you do to alleviate these fears?
It's logical to have fear, and usually fear exists about the unknown. So if we're not familiar about a topic, or if we just don't know it's there, we usually fear it. And you have two kind of fears. So one fear is of losing jobs. So people fear really robots substituting their job and they would lose the job. And the other fear also on the other side is that of building machines that will take over the humanity, let's say. So It's really the science fiction fear about AI and the malicious AI. And so we have both kind of fears, and they are different. So one is really existential fear. If I lose my job, I have no money, I cannot feed my family. So this is really deep in our It's a very deep fear. And the other one, let's say, is more science fiction, but still, we have enough movies and enough books to nurture this fear. So it's also something we have to address.
And so there's a huge education piece in what you do then.
Exactly. So we have like two different of people we deal with inside the group. We have the IT colleagues or even from the business, but there are always teams who are the interface to the IT. So those ones, they understand a little bit more the technology and they discuss with us about solutions. But you have more the business in general. So people who are far away from the IT have more fear. So we have to educate both. So this is why we go around and first just talk about AI. And this is something I really do very, very often. Just go and explain AI, but in very simple words. So basically with cats and dogs and images, and I try to explain what is machine learning, what is deep learning, what's neural network, how does a neural network work, what do you put in the input layer and stuff. So but in very simple words and basic words that everyone can understand, no matter if they studied engineering or not, or if they liked math at school or not. So this is the first part, and the other part also is to explain to the colleagues who have more interaction with IT that AI is not doesn't do miracles.
Yeah, manage the expectations and the hype.
Yeah, exactly. So although they understand a little bit more about technology, but it's like, okay, I have this problem and do some AI in there, and then it solves the problem. And when we say, okay, first let's have a look at your data, and it's totally unstructured and it's bad quality, and some say, okay, we cannot do any miracles here. So it's two different types of education and knowledge sharing more than education. So basically, any of us can explain something.
When you look at things like job losses, which is a huge topic in the press, and it's probably one of the big negative connotations around artificial intelligence. How do you convince people that AI is a good thing? Because for people who maybe haven't got the full understanding, they can only see this negative concern.
I don't try to convince them that it's good. I try to explain how it works and let them understand by themselves that it can be good if you use it to be good. So it's, and there's an example I usually talk about when the industrial revolution started, and when we had the first vehicles. Obviously, the coach drivers, not drivers, what do we call them? Carriage, horse carriage.
Yeah.
Drivers, maneuvers.
Yeah.
They were afraid to lose their jobs, and they lost their jobs. But then we had taxi drivers now. It's not that your job right now, as it is, you will lose it. This you will lose anyway, because technology is changing our lives. And where the computers came, many people lost their jobs as secretaries typing on typing machines, but then they had to type on computers. So this basically always happened. Now we just have probably the biggest industrial revolution we had, or technological revolution we had until now. And people just cannot imagine how it will affect them. But this is why it's the time now to understand how it works, to see how you can get a benefit from it.
Yeah, and people have to adapt. We have to evolve with it. Otherwise, you do get a little bit left behind. But as you said, that's nothing new now. It's quite an exaggerated situation right now because of what can be done by using artificial intelligence.
Yes, and I think the pace of the technological evolution is much higher now than in the industrial revolution. We were talking more about mechanics, and this takes longer, and now it's all electronics and internet. So in the digital era, everything is so quick that it's hard for our human brain to understand this and to cope with the pace. It's just too quick.
Sure. And are there any projects you can share with us where you've been able to show how AI can support and develop and improve things internally?
Well, we have different types of projects, but let's say the the highest part is probably just automizing processes. And here, there is no AI in it. So it's more the robotic process automation part.
Yeah.
And so by the time we have around 2,000 robots already working within the group and automizing all sorts of processes. And I don't have an exact percentage, but a big share of these processes that we automate are reporting processes.
Okay.
So, basically getting data from a source and then putting many sources together in one Excel sheet, and then doing some pivots or whatever tables, and then some graphs, and then sending it by email to a management, to a distribution list. So this is something that many of us had to do in the past, and now we are trying to automate these processes because it doesn't bring any value for a person to do this. It's just a time wasting activity. And this is something that is really helping people. So when we save a person like 2 hours a week to do this kind of reporting, that person can use the 2 hours either to talk more with customers, or it's just to do the rest of the job a little bit with a better quality and not in such a stress.
And I think this is also probably one of the most misunderstood parts of AI and robotics, is that it frees people up to do things that they love doing, rather than doing the bits that we all feel are just things we have to do as part of our job.
Yes.
There's no perfect job. There's always a few bits that we don't like. Well, it's great if we get to do that bit.
Exactly. So we try to reduce the unwanted parts of the jobs, and most people like the parts, the more social parts. So doing workshops, talking with customers, talking with colleagues, trying to find solutions. These ideation workshops. We have challenges, and people sit together and try to find a solution to those challenges. Obviously, you have different types of people, and not everybody likes to talk to people. You also have the nerds who would like to have their piece just coding. This also we have to respect. But even then, they are happy about automized testing, for example, or about automized ticketing systems. So in incident management, we're also having more and more use cases to automate this incident process. So you have incidents coming in from either from the hotline or some customer interfaces, and people just write, paragraphs in it describing the problem, and we using a natural language processing, we try to get the main topics from this text and try to classify it and to forward it to the second level, and this helps again. So we free up capacity from the first level, but we put them in the second level where you need more people, like more with engineering and analysis capacities. The use cases we are mostly building within the IT, and obviously one of our biggest goals is to make the infrastructure more efficient and more stable. So we're a lot working on predictive maintenance in our landline and mobile networks.
So all the projects you're working on seem to be around improving customer experience, whether those customers are internal or external customers. It's trying to improve, create a better service externally or internally to make sure that processes, support can be done more effectively.
Well, we're doing both. I mean, as a corporate IT, our goal obviously is the internal part of the company, but of course we work with other segments within the group who take care of external customers. Because the internal IT, we only have interfaces internally, let's say, but we have, and this is also one of the biggest challenges of the corporates, the word shadow IT.
Yep.
So obviously every segment builds its own IT and its own solutions, and every segment tries to make the life of their own customers better. So the challenge here is to sync with all these segments and with all the solutions and try to provide the infrastructure they need to be able to offer a better service to their customers. So we have many layers. We do the internal efficiencies, plus we offer the infrastructure for our colleagues to serve the customers outside. And we have Obviously, we have many millions of customers as a telco, as a carrier. So also on that side, we do a lot with automation and to improve the customer service, building chatbots and voice recognition solutions. So that when the customer calls, the voice is used as an ID, and we don't have to ask him what's your name, what's your phone number, what's your customer number, etc. We recognize the voice, and then we know exactly who that person is, etc., etc.
Fabulous. So some really, really innovative and interesting projects going on. So very cool stuff. So is this what's inspired you to take the step of writing your own book? Because that's something you've talked about and something that you're doing. So tell me a bit about that.
Yes, it is a big challenge. It's rather a crazy idea than a challenge. But what I have been witnessing in the last interventions I had on conferences or events or at meetups, we are a lot discussing about AI, but also about our data, the challenge getting the data on the one hand, but of course also about the bias we have in the data. So this unbiased data discussion has been growing, and one of my theses is if we have a diverse group having a look at this data, we have a big chance of unbiasing the data. So obviously there are different algorithms and stuff, but you still need different perspectives for people to think, to recognize there's a bias. So if you only have a homogeneous group, people won't even recognize the bias because for them this is how life works. But you need different perspectives. So someone else looking at it from a different angle to say, oh, this is not the way it works in my country or in my society. And this is why I think it's really important to talk about this and make people aware that diversity is important also in building AI solutions.
That sounds like a really interesting topic. And how have you got the content for the information for the book?
Well, generally from literature, from many discussions, and I'm also interviewing many people who are shaping this from diverse backgrounds also. And I'm sharing their opinions and stories in the book too.
Fabulous. Well, all the best with that. It sounds like a really interesting project that you're taking on. So Kenza, it's been absolutely wonderful speaking to you and getting your insights into the world of AI, from the big corporate to what you're doing yourself with diversity in AI, ethics in AI. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today, and I wish you all the best with finishing your book by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week, we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.